Hi, this is May speaking from Singapore on the 7th of April 2020. Earlier this year, I ran in a mega event presenting my predictions for 2020 to a full auditorium of participants, and this was done on the 18th of January 2020 at an event called The Dawn of the New Millennium. And this is a video recap of the event. Disruption. I'm talking about certain shifts that's happening in the world that is so massive. The world is changing. There's a line here. The line is coming. That line is the 22nd of December 2020. A lot of you are going to have to change direction. A lot of you are going to have to make different plans. Now, just because you're a business owner doesn't mean you're exempt. You'll find some of you are probably going to have to take your business in a completely different direction. From 2020 onwards, the Earth world that we know is going to change forever. Think about how much of what you do is to make things faster, better, cheaper. Nobody is interested in that anymore because it's freaking instant. What we want to do is to get people together and start thinking about how we can share our skills. As an astrologer, I've done this a long time, and people always want to know. People always want to know. That's why they book a consultation. They just want to know what's going to happen. What bothers me about astrology sometimes is that if you know, but that doesn't mean you're prepared. You see? And being aware and being ready is not the same thing. My expertise is reading your chart and telling you what is that fundamental skill that you are very good at. This is a great opportunity to actually embark on something that's totally new. I'm preparing this video for those who had missed my Facebook Live on the 5th of April. Now, this video is also relevant to you if you are a business owner who suspects that you don't have the full picture of how COVID-19 is going to affect you and your businesses. And this is also for you if you feel that your plans are being disrupted and you don't have any idea of what's coming up. In fact, the question I want to ask all of you is, how many of you have noticed that all your plans from January 2020 are already out of the window? And so this is why I need you to pay close attention to this video, because at the end of this, there's only going to be two options. Either you act or you're going to regret. My name is May Sim, and I'm a professional astrologer with more than 15 years of experience. Now, for the last few years, I've been working with CEOs, directors, high-level executives, providing them astrological knowledge in order for them to deal with their businesses. I've also done astrology for the New York Times style magazine, brands like Omega, and also I've taught some astrology to even Facebook employees. And so before I dive in, now it's very important for me to preface this by saying I'm aware I'm going to be giving some information that is hard truths that a lot of you as business owners will not like. And so what this means is I understand that this is an unpopular viewpoint, and in fact, I'm doing the exact opposite of what everybody else is doing. In fact, most people just want to hold your hand and tell you that things are going to be fine, COVID-19 is going to be over. But on my end, I think it's very important that I present the truth, and so people have a clear idea of what it is that you have to deal with in 2020. Now, with that said, let's dive in. And I'm going to start here with, here's what you've been told so far. And so if you look at this screen, here's a selection of some of the articles that you may have seen in the last few days if you've been here in Singapore. And you realize that most of these headlines come with a bit of a timeline, and they all seem to operate within a 1-month timeline. Now, when you have articles like this, here's what you may be secretly thinking, is that all of this is temporary and that it is just for the time being. In fact, most of you are treating this like an inconvenience, and most of you can't wait until this is over. And what is most insidious is that some of you may be thinking that everything is going to go right back to normal, to pre-COVID-19, after this is over. Now, if you are a business owner and you're listening to this, there are three important questions that I want to ask you. Now, the first is that, will COVID-19 really be over after 1 month? And depending on whether you're in Singapore or elsewhere in the world, the second question is, what happens to Singapore or your country after COVID-19? And the third question is, the truth is COVID-19 a distraction that is obscuring us from an even bigger problem? And this is why it takes me to here's what no one is talking about. And honestly, right now, I'm in the exact same position as I was at 18 January. Back when I was doing the event in January, nobody even expected that COVID-19 was actually going to happen. Everybody in Singapore was preparing to celebrate the Chinese New Year, and I knew that what I was about to share would sound completely unbelievable to most people, and that was why I needed a long event to walk step by step my audience so that I could explain how I arrived at these conclusions. And so this time round, I've also asked my team to schedule for me a session, and of course, this time it's going to have to be online, where I'm covering the following, which is number one, the real effect of COVID-19 on us and our businesses, our livelihoods. The second is how fast is this happening? The speed at which things are going to change in 2020. And lastly, of course, I'm covering the full extent of how it is going to affect us and our business. And I'm well aware that there are many of you who are still skeptics, that what I'm saying is kind of still a little bit unbelievable. And this is why this video is also going to show you a hint of what it is that I'm talking about. And those of you who were at my 18 January event know that my predictions are already happening in ways that you can see in Singapore and around the world. So this is an example. If you look at this is just the regular news report, and you find that in all the noise that's happening right now, people sharing inspirational videos, where to collect your mask, etc., you'll find that the real news is being obscured right in the middle. News that covers industries and what is at risk, what is at threat, is not getting the attention that it should. You find that there are also other news articles here that nobody is sharing. And this is very dangerous because businesses are not making the kind of adjustments and adaptations that you need to during this period. And you also find that globally, I'm not the only person who is sounding the warning about the stormy weather that awaits us in 2020. And so guys, this is the reason why I have to walk this through step by step. So I'm going to do this on the 14th of April, and I'll show you the extent of how this is going to happen, exactly when. So as similarly, I'm going to present the timeline and also who is going to be affected when the second wave hits us. So this is my promise. On the 14th of April, I'm presenting number one, what to expect. So this is going to be presented in the form of a forecast for the short, medium, and a sneak preview of the long term. I'm also covering what are the industries that will survive and of course, which industries won't survive. And those of you who were at the 18 January event know that I spoke extensively about how the world was transiting from the earth element into the air element. And I will explain this very clearly again in my next webinar. And of course, I'm also going to cover, looking into the future, what is it that we can do right now to prepare if you so choose. And so guys, I am timing this event specifically for the 14th of April. And for those of you who realize that I'm pointing very specifically at something, and you can choose to see what it is that I'm pointing at, or you can choose to ignore the warning signs. Guys, there is a window of opportunity, but this is closing up soon. Okay, and the thing is, guys, I have been correct before. Let me reiterate, who are the people who really should come? Not everybody is going to be ready for this message, and you really should be attending if you are a business owner who suspects that you are not getting the full truth of the situation, of how the full picture of how COVID-19 is affecting us. Some of you are going to have business in limbo. You are unable to move forward and you have no idea what's coming up for you next. And some of you also need to make some decisions. Do you continue renting your space? And what do you do about your employees? Do you keep them, or is it time to start letting people go? And so this message also goes out to those who can see the smoke in the distance. You can see that there is an earthquake that is coming and that you want to be able to react on time. This message also goes out to those who want to know where to stand when the structures crumble, and that you want to make sure that you are not an economic casualty. This message also goes out to the people who understand that all of this is happening in the year 2020. And this means that you have limited time to react, you have limited time to prepare. My objective is so that you do not panic and you do not be powerless. And so guys, the thing is, I have been correct before. On the 18th of January, when I warned Singapore that there would be a wave that would hit Singapore right after Chinese New Year, in fact, Singapore registered our first COVID-19 case just 5 days after my event. And on the 18th of January, I also told Singapore that actually we would be mostly unaffected by the situation until March onwards. And this was also accurate because Singapore really only started getting majorly affected after Malaysia closed its doors on the 16th of March, just as was on my timeline. And so the risk that you cannot afford to take right now is, what if May is correct again? And so I have made my decision. There will be a next event. This will be online. It is a webinar. This is going to happen on the 14th of April. I will start at 10 a.m. and I'll finish at 4 p.m. And guys, this event is going to be free. So that means you do not need to buy tickets. You don't need to pay anything. There is nothing to buy and I'm not selling you anything. And so, guys, the thing is, if the event is free, if I'm correct, you have everything to gain from being there. Now, even if I'm wrong, and if in your mind you're thinking, hey, what if May is wrong? Then you have nothing to lose because I'm not even charging you for this event. And so people, if this event is free, wouldn't you at least want to find out what it is that May is saying? Okay, and so you will find the sign up link in the description for this video and you want to get on there and sign up ASAP. And the thing is, we fully expect our Zoom account to be busted for this webinar. So this is why I'm requesting that everybody register properly for this webinar so that my team can manage the crowd that is coming in. And so I would like to finish by saying that in times of crisis, there are two big enemies that we need to fight. And I'm not even talking about COVID-19. The first enemy is noise, and which obscures us from the truth and the things that we need to see at this point in time. The second enemy is inaction. And the worst thing that we can do in times of crisis is to freeze and not take action, especially when the heat is burning from underneath us. And so guys, I've come to the end of this video. I've delivered my message and I've done my job. Okay, so guys, get on that link. I'll see you guys on the 14th of April.